call, and not just on Reddit, but on various 40K podcasts around the community, and on some of the, Comp 40K in Facebook has actually been pretty good. They've been, for the most part, everyone is basically piling on and agreeing that that's pretty bad. But I think Reddit and a lot of other places, I've seen what I'd like to call Dark Eldar apologists or Dark Eldar truthers. And these are basically people whose opinion is, even after all the data that we've seen so far. So first of all, this is here's your prototypical Dark Eldar truther. They're going to have three things that they're going to tell you. First, they're going to tell you that we need more data, that there's not enough data. Second, they're going to tell you that Dark Eldar are fine and that the meta just needs to adapt. And third, they're going to tell you, well, it's a brand new book and people don't know the rules yet. And to all of you people who have this opinion still after this weekend, I'm going to say this: shut up. Shut up. You're wrong. You're wrong. Just admit, like, you guys need to, like, look, no one is saying that we need to nerf the army into the ground, and no one is saying that there isn't some truth to those points. Sure, the meta needs to adapt a little bit. Sure, it's a new book, and sure, more data is always great. But if you can't, any competitive player or player that plays at a high level can look at the book as it is right now and objectively tell you that it is overtuned, it's too strong. Now, with all those things that you guys mentioned, like the lists adapting, and with like people getting familiar with the book, and potentially like the more data, we might see the win percentage go from what was it this weekend, 75% to a 65%. Even if it drops 10%, which is a massive drop because people get more familiar with the list, people start to tech for it a little bit more, that is still completely unacceptable. So this idea that like everything is fine, don't worry, just take more chain swords, let the meta adapt. Guys, you guys are being extremely dishonest, right? No one is saying that Dark Eldar should get nerfed to the ground or obliterated. And I know there's often that fear, but I'm so sick and tired of people who can't seem to get over their own implicit bias and just say, you know what? Yeah, the book is overtuned. And there's these other factors like list needing adjusting. It's both. You can hold two ideas in your head. It's not that fucking hard, right? So on one hand, you have the idea that the book is overtuned, it's too strong. And on the other hand, you have all those things you listed that like the meta needs to adjust a little bit, right? People need to be more familiar with the rules. A lot of it is like gotcha hammer, like, oh, I didn't realize that could do that. Oh, I didn't realize this. But in general, the amount of like Dark Eldar people that are like apologizing, pretending that everything is fine, it's like, it's totally inexcusable. So people, to the Dark Eldar truthers and apologists out there, the people that are standing there saying that, yeah, people just need to adapt, you guys are just objectively wrong. That is not what we're talking about. No one is saying that the book shouldn't be powerful, and no one is saying that the book doesn't need time. People aren't going to get better at playing it, right? What we're saying is that even after all of that, it's still probably overtuned. And you can sit there and pretend that we don't have enough data. You can look at the almost 2,000 games that have now been played with the book at like a 70 plus win rate. How many more games is it going to take? 5,000, 10,000, 100,000? Like at what point are you guys going to be like, oh yeah, actually it is right? How much longer are you going to give people to adapt? 6 months? 1 year? Like 6 years? Like when is it enough? At what point are you going to say, you know what, at this point, listers should be adapted, people would have learned the lessons, and we're good to go, right? When, right? But no, it's always the next week. One more week of data, guys, right? One more week of people adapting. One more a month of people learning the list, right? Like it's never just like, hey, you know what? Yeah, honestly, guys, it is overtuned. It is broken. The data shows it. Not me, not my opinion. The data shows it. So let's start talking about what needs to happen, right? How do we adjust this book without ruining the book, which is ultimately what we want. We want a balanced game, right?
Yeah.
So that's just like my Dark Eldar rant, and Alex, I'll pass it over to you. And here's the last thing I'll say: I'm fired up. I'm not actually angry that the book is overtuned, because at the end of the day, I'm not worried about it. I know that the book is going to be fixed. I know like GW is going to eventually address it, whether it's in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. We saw it with Iron Hands, we saw it with Ynnari, we saw it with Castellan, we saw it with like a lot of the lists, Blood Angels, when they had way too many stratagems that were super cheap and doing all sorts of nasty stuff. So we've seen this. There's a pattern of GW recognizing that these lists are overpowered and then acting. So I'm actually not worried that this is not going to get changed. What bothers me is the people in denial. The people that are pretending, like gaslighting us gaslighting high-level competitive players that can objectively look at this and say, this is too strong. Just trust us. We know because we've been playing this game forever and we're smart and we're not, we can see these things. Trust us, and we're looking at the data as well. And people saying, no, guys, no, it's just a meta. Like, don't gaslight us. Like, we know what we're talking about, and I don't mean me. Don't take my word for it. Forget what I say. There's much better players, much better than me, that can tell you the exact same thing. There's a reason that a lot of people are saying, well, John Lennon and Nick Nanavati and those guys would have been finished top anyways. Yeah, but the thing is, the reason they actually went and switched all to Dark Eldar is because that's what good players do. They switch to the best book. So if you think it was just by accident, that they all took Dark Eldar, that they just so happen to be planning to run Dark Eldar, and all the other books are competitive, no. If you go look at, I've talked to John, I've talked to Richard, they all, in that little frat house they have down in Florida where they play Warhammer, they've been testing against Dark Eldar, White Scars, Eldar, Chaos, all sorts of lists, and time after time after time, Dark Eldar there is just emerging out of it. Like, they're like, you know what? After all our tests, building lists to kill Dark Eldar, the best thing is actually just more Dark Eldar. That's actually the best list. So for everyone out there that is in denial, just shut up, because you guys are dishonest, and you're not telling the truth, and you're being super biased on this, right? And again, it doesn't affect me personally. I've been stuck in Vancouver for a year and a half now, and I'm not playing any tournaments. So if Dark Eldar busted for another 3 months and I get to hear all the whining on the internet, it doesn't really bother me. But what bothers me is the dishonesty, the people saying that, oh, like, everything's fine, there's no problem here. Anyways, that's my rant. So
Yeah.
Alex, any thoughts?
Scary part. Well, yeah, the scary part is that John is not a Dark Eldar player.
No.
Like, Mark has been playing AdMech forever. I played Mark at LVO like 3.5 years ago, and he was playing pure AdMech then. So we're talking about somebody who has been, I think, routinely in the top 100 in the ITC, like, year after year, playing his favorite list, playing a list that's super refined, and then John hopping over to Drukhari in the last like 2 weeks. I don't think he's ever played them before, other than maybe like some random games for streaming, and going and winning the biggest major we've seen in the last year and a half.
Yeah.
That's not okay. There is, like, when they talk about pilot over list, it absolutely is a huge thing to swap armies. Like, even the best players, at that point they're operating off of mechanics. I understand the mechanics of the game really well, and I can leverage that into good gameplay. But that doesn't mean he's going to play that list as well as somebody who has been playing Drukhari the last however many years, right? He just took good mechanics into the best list, and then just went and won like the biggest thing we've seen since LVO.
Yeah. It's just infuriating to me, because, like, look, I wanna agree with, like, I wanna agree with those people and say, you know what? Every new book that comes out, there is an adjustment period, and there is a period where people need to kind of learn the list. But here's the thing, guys, that goes both ways. So just as people are getting better at learning Dark Eldar, people are building better Dark Eldar lists.
Yeah.
Right? So the best list has still not been discovered. The best combo
Yeah.
of traits and warlord traits and build and selection has still not been discovered. So it's not just a one-way street where lists get weaker over time. They actually get stronger too. So it's like, if you're already starting at this, 10 steps ahead, and then as much as we're going to catch up, Dark Eldar are also going to get better. They're going to fine tune it. They're going to find even tighter efficiencies, even more weird combos and interactions, right? This isn't a thing where it's like in a vacuum, where it's like, now the best Dark Eldar list has been picked, and now everyone has a year to kind of break it down and adjust it. No, the Dark Eldar lists are going to change, and there's like 6, 7 probably really, really strong builds in that book. And if you build to counter any one list, you're just not going to have the tools to play like a take all comers list, or it's going to be very hard. Or there's only 1 or 2 lists in 1 or 2 books that have those the ability to do that, right? And that's just not a healthy game, right? So
yeah, that mentality of like, oh, we just need to adapt. That's a very first world thinking. Like, those of you that have codexes with real rules, you might be able to adapt. Those of us playing like Genestealer Cult, I can't adapt to Dark Eldar. I can't adapt to anything. Like, my book is ass. What am I supposed to do? Like, if you have one singular list that's running at a 75% win rate and it's so good, and you have to skew super heavily towards that, if you're on basically anything but like the very top level armies, you're just going to screw yourself against everything else.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I finally made a list that can beat Drukhari, and I get smashed by Marines, which are unfortunately for me 50% of the meta, and Death Guard and Harlequins. Like, if the list is that strong where you have to put all your eggs into one basket to beat that list, you just hose yourself for everything else.
Yep.
I would,
It's pretty frustrating to listen
if I
to.
was, oh sorry, go for it.
No, I was just gonna, it's just pretty frustrating to listen to. I'm just like, guys, just be honest. Just say it. Like no one's gonna hold it against you that you play Dark Eldar. If you can admit that they're too strong, they need tweaks. Just be honest about it. Don't pretend that everything is fine, because that's so dishonest, and it just really bothers me.
Yeah, yeah. If you're not like White Scars or Harlequins or Admech or like Dark Angels or something, and I was going to a GT tomorrow, I would probably ignore Drukhari. They would be something that I just can't really cope with, and I will build to beat everyone else, and I will try and go 4-1, and I will lose to Drukhari on top table or on day two or something like that. That's essentially what I'm going for.
Yeah, I mean, I played probably a half dozen games against Drukhari, the new Drukhari, and like with my Chaos, and I've tried lots of different lists. Now, lists that I think would do well against like in a general meta, like that would be good take all comers. I could probably build a Chaos list that could beat Drukhari. Like I don't I know I could. I just don't think it's gonna be good against a lot else. And even then, it's like 50-50. Like my best Chaos list against Drukhari, it's still a 50-50 coin toss. Like who gets first, what's the mission, what's the table terrain, all these kinds of things. Like it's not like a and that in general, when you tailor lists, it usually is like not 50-50. It's like you just steamroll, right? Like if you build a competitive list that's built to kill one thing, then usually you steamroll them. With Drukhari, even my best list, chaos list, is like 50-50.
Yeah,
It's like a coin
yeah.
toss.
The Tyranid list that I built specifically to deal with White Scars, because whatever 4 months ago White Scars was the boogeyman. That Tyranid list has like a 98% win rate against White Scars.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's absurd, and that's because I built it specifically to do one thing, and it happens to be good into a lot of other things as well. But it was to snipe Marines, and Marines are like 50% of every tournament you'll ever go to, so it worked out. But yeah, I don't know. And another thing that we're describing here is you're saying 50-50 against Drukhari in general,
Right.
not 50-50 against Drukhari being run by Sean Naden, Nick Nanavati, John
Yeah. I mean,
Lennon.
I probably don't even have a chance
You'll,
there.
no, you'll just get slapped to death.
I played against like I mean it was TTS, but I played against a Drukhari player who's like super green, and he like beat me. I lost 78-77. And it was like I played my ass off, and the guy just was
Mhm.
like, he made so many mistakes and he still won. By turn 5, the guy still got 5 raiders flying around charging. Like the raiders literally are killing Death Shroud Terminators because they have 3 strength 7 attacks each, like that hit on 4s. Like whose idea was it to give a transport like that kind of offensive power? He's got 3 raiders and one single Death Shroud doing 9 strength 7 attacks. Like,
You know,
are you guys
if
mental?
you if you give a
With AP,
Carnifex,
and they're AP 1 and then AP like 2 on 6s. Like, are you kidding?
yep,
Like
if you give
it's
a Carnifex only guns, like you take away its all of its normal combat options, a Raider is better in combat than a Carnifex.
it's ridiculous. Yeah, like and look, I think they also play the missions really well, which I think is a big problem. And I think one of the bigger problems in the game right now, and that I'm really not happy with, is I actually don't like that we've gone to a single mission set. I think it really stagnates. Like, I think there was a really benefit in having things like Maelstrom, ITC, Nova missions, WTC, Adepticon, like having all those different mission sets. It created a little bit more of a varied meta, because certain lists and certain armies might be more better in those types of like in those mission sets. But now, because we're in a single mission set, it's kind of like, what's the best army in this single mission set, and that just becomes the best army, period. It's not based on that mission set. So I don't think it's a great thing that we're in a single mission set. And I'm really hoping with the new chapter approved and field manual, whenever we get it, outside of the points updates, we also get a full rewrite of the secondaries. I'd say, like, I think we talked about this last week, but like 60% of the secondaries are absolute garbage. Like, when was the last time anyone took any sort of psychic secondary? So
No,
it's
they're all
just,
crap.
yeah, it's just not good. Like, I was looking at arm, like, I can't believe witches are 10 points. Like, it's mental.
I mean, I can kind of get the witches being 10 points because if you ever catch them out of combat, they just disappear.
Yeah.
Like they are T3 with a 6 plus. Like guardsmen will light them up, but the problem is that they have the no escape, so you probably will never catch them out of combat,
Right. And I
which
mean,
is
yeah, and like they're weak, but like they have 85 point like armor suits that fly them
yeah,
around.
they're just blenders in combat
Yeah.
too. I feel bad for. I guess that's the other thing that makes Dark Eldar so strong is that they have so many things that they do well just as like a bonus.
Yeah,
It's like, hey, you need these raiders. You really do need these raiders to get your army around. Also, they'll dumpster most people's heavy armor like without even
with
breaking a
free
sweat.
rerolls, built-in rerolls.
Yeah,
And
we
oh, did
have
we
this
mention
unit.
that unlike every other army in the book, they can carry any troops across your entire army? So like I can't
Mhm,
have Space Marines and I can't have White Scars and Dark Angels and have my Dark Angels Rhinos carry around my White Scars, right? I
yeah,
can't do that
but
in
your
any other army in the
Rex
game. Is there any
and
other army
your
in the game where I could have I could have a Dark Angels character in my White Scars detachment and still get all my Dark Angels rules? No. Oh yeah, only Drukhari can do that for some reason. No reason at all. I can have literally a Cult of Strife Succubus in a Dark Technomancer's detachment and still get my full Dark Technomancer's rules. And the only thing I lose on my Succubus is like a very small illusion trait. Like just the rules writing is so inconsistent, and the combo stacking in that sense also just means there's so much abuse, right?
yeah. I mean, I'm playing Tyranids. I don't even know what transports are.
I mean, exactly. But imagine you could just have like you can mix and match hive fleets within a single detachment and then
Oh
not
God,
get any downside. Like that's
yeah, I
essentially what
know.
Dark Eldar get to do.
Yeah, goodbye. Actually, having a Kronos detachment. I just have 6 Kronos Hive Guard sitting in my Kraken list
Yeah.
at the back with no support.
What's up, Nick? How's it
Um,
going? Thanks for joining.